Léo Major, Part I, The One-Eyed Ghost, *** Holland, October 1944. Wind rolled across the flooded fields, bending the tall grass and carrying with it the distant thunder of artillery. The night was ink-black, lit only by the burning ruins of a farmhouse and the occasional flare streaking across the sky like a dying star. Somewhere far ahead, past the reeds and along a muddy Dutch road, one man moved alone. Corporal Léo Major of the Regiment de la Chaudière stepped quietly through the mist, his boots sinking into cold mud. He carried his Sten gun low, his left eye focused on the darkness, the right eye covered by a patch, forever blind from a phosphorus grenade months earlier. Most soldiers with that kind of injury were evacuated home. Léo refused. He'd ripped the medical tag off his uniform and simply walked out of the field hospital. He wasn't done with the war. Tonight, he was deep behind enemy lines, again, searching for German patrol routes near Zwolle. The brass had sent a full reconnaissance squad for this job. Léo told them he'd go alone, and they allowed it, because he had done it before more than once. A man who feared nothing behind him. Somewhere 3 kilometers to the south, his platoon commander Captain Jacques Tremblay paced restlessly. "Leo's been gone too long," he muttered. "Sir," a young private said, "he goes behind enemy lines like it's a walk to the bakery." Tremblay exhaled sharply. "That's what frightens me. They called Léo a lot of things, a madman, a ghost, a one-eyed devil. A man who smiled in gunfights, but every man in the regiment knew the truth. Léo Major was the kind of soldier legends envied, and tonight would prove it again. Into the dark Léo crouched against a crumbling brick wall, listening. His breath formed faint white clouds in the cold air. Somewhere nearby, boots splashed softly in water, a German patrol. He pressed closer to the wall. 3 soldiers approached. One smoked a cigarette, its orange ember glowing like a tiny beacon. Léo didn't wait. He moved from the shadows like a knife, close and silent. A quick strike with the Sten's stock, 1 man down. Before the others reacted, he fired 2 short, suppressed bursts. 2 more bodies splashed into the mud. Léo dragged them behind the wall. His expression was calm, almost bored. Then he heard something else: engines, trucks, voices. A full German convoy was approaching the junction, maybe 20 men, maybe more. Leo's fingers brushed over the stick grenades on his belt. "Not tonight," he whispered. He needed information, not a firefight. So he climbed onto the rear of the last truck, clinging silently as it moved toward Zwolle. He was going right into the heart of the city. Zwolle in the moonlight. The convoy entered the outskirts near midnight. Houses stood dark, curtains drawn. Not a soul outside. Léo slipped off the truck when it slowed at a checkpoint. He rolled into a ditch and crawled through tall grass until he reached a row of houses. Ahead, German soldiers everywhere. Machine gun nests, snipers on rooftops, patrols crossing the streets. Zwolle was crawling with occupation forces. Léo whispered to himself, "So, that means more work for me." He grinned, not a sane grin, the grin of a man who had made peace with danger and death long ago. The first strike, he moved through the alleys like a phantom, his single eye sweeping every shadow. He spotted 2 guards outside a commandeered hotel serving as a German HQ. Léo didn't hesitate. A flashpoint, 2 suppressed shots. Both guards fell without a sound. He slipped inside the building. German officers were talking on the 2nd floor, discussing troop rotations. Léo heard the words, "Reinforcements, arriving tomorrow." He exhaled slowly, "Not if I have something to say about it." He stepped into the hallway, raising his Sten, but the floorboard creaked. A German sergeant swung his rifle up, eyes widening. Léo fired first. The sergeant collapsed, thudding against the wall. Footsteps erupted upstairs. Léo sprinted down the hallway and burst through a rear door into the cold, wet alley. Shouts echoed behind him. Zwolle was awake now, but Léo smiled wider. "Good. Now we play." A city under fire. Gunfire erupted across multiple streets as German soldiers tried to track the single attacker. They thought it was a full squad, because Léo moved like one. He hit from one side of the city, vanished, appeared 5 blocks away, then tossed grenades into a supply truck, setting off a chain of explosions. He shot out street lamps, plunging everything into darkness. He fired at rooftops, forcing snipers to duck. He sprinted across plazas under machine gun fire, cutting through alleys too narrow for pursuit. He became something else, a whisper of death that never stayed in one place. The German breakdown. By 3 a.m., panic had overtaken the garrison. An officer shouted, "Es ist ein ganzes Kommando. They surround us." No, another yelled, it's paratroopers. Americans. Every new burst of gunfire made them more unsure. Leo climbed onto a balcony overlooking the city square and fired a long burst from a captured MG-34, sweeping across parked vehicles. Sparks danced as bullets tore through metal. Soldiers scattered, diving behind crates and sandbags. To Leo, it felt almost surreal. Just one man, he whispered, and they're running. He tossed the MG-34 aside. He didn't need it. His mind already worked on a new idea. The bluff Leo sprinted into a bombed-out telephone office. He ripped wires from the switchboard, found a working line, and connected it to the city's main garrison command frequency. Then, in perfect German, "This is Sergeant Muller. Allied troops have surrounded the city. We are outnumbered. Evacuate immediately." Static, then shouting on the line. Leo's grin widened. He kept shouting into the phone, changing his voice, mimicking panic, switching between German accents. He slammed drawers, knocked chairs over, creating chaos on the line. The Germans bought every word. Within minutes, vehicles started moving. Trucks filled with hurried soldiers rolled toward the northern bridge. Zwolle was being abandoned. By sunrise, Leo realized something unbelievable. He had liberated the city, alone. A quiet dawn. The Dutch resistance emerged from hiding. Civilians peeked through windows. Slowly, doors opened. Léo Major stood in the square, muddy, bruised, and smiling. A little girl approached him, holding a flower with trembling hands. "For you," she whispered. Leo knelt and accepted it gently. "You're safe now," he said. Softly. "They're gone." Behind him, the first rays of sunlight touched the rooftops of a free city. One man, one eye, one night, one liberation. Léo Major had written his name into history. Léo Major, Part 2, Inch King of Zwolle, ***, April 14, 1945, somewhere near the IJssel River, Netherlands. The wind carried the smell of wet earth, burnt wood, and gunpowder. Birds circled over abandoned farmhouses while far-off artillery rumbled like a troubled sky preparing to break open again. The war was dying, slowly, violently. But no one on the ground felt safe yet. Corporal Léo Major, now a legend in whispers, marched with the Regiment de la Chaudière along a muddy road toward a town called Zwolle again. But this time, he wasn't coming to scout. He was returning as a hero. Why now? Everyone in the regiment knew the story. One man liberated an entire city in one night. Some didn't believe it at first, but the Dutch civilians did. They greeted him with cheers, flowers, embraces. Some called him Le Van Zwolle, the Lion of Zwolle. Others called him the One-Eyed Ghost. Leo never corrected anyone. He just smiled with that strange calmness only men who've seen death up close carry. Point 1. A new mission begins, but there was no time for celebrations. The Canadian forces needed to push deeper into the Netherlands. The Germans were retreating but leaving behind pockets of resistance, snipers, SS fanatics, and mined roads. Leo walked beside Captain Tremblay, boots sinking in mud. "You know they still talk about you," Tremblay said, eyeing him. "Who?" Leo shrugged. "Everyone. Let them talk. War's not over." Tremblay sighed. "Leo, no one else does the things you do. No one. Maybe someone just needs to." It was impossible to argue with him. Ahead, black smoke rose over the next village, Ravine. The Germans had barricaded themselves inside. A small group of Dutch civilians were trapped. "We need a volunteer team to break through," Tremblay said. Leo stepped forward. "Of course he did. I'll take two." "Two?" Tremblay blinked. "That's all I need." That was Leo, not brave, not reckless, just utterly unafraid. Point 2. The ravine raid night fell fast. The village crackled with flames from a burning barn. German voices echoed in the narrow streets. Machine guns rattled from second-floor windows. Leo crouched behind a low stone wall with two soldiers, Gagnon, a wiry Quebecois with nervous hands, and Lambert, a broad, quiet man who trusted Leo more than he trusted God. "What's the plan?" Gagnon whispered. "Simple," Leo said, loading fresh magazines. "We walk in, they shoot. We shoot faster." Gagnon stared. "You're joking, right?" "Almost never." Leo waited for a break in the machine gun fire. It came, and he moved. He advanced through the street like a shadow. Glass shattered above him. Bullets clawed at the dirt. A German soldier leaned from a window, raising his rifle. Leo fired first. He never hesitated, never second-guessed. The 3 Canadians slipped into a ruined bakery. The smell of burnt bread lingered. From there, Leo climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor. He kicked open a door and tossed a stick grenade into the hallway. Boom, screams, chaos. Leo charged out, firing his Sten in tight bursts. Germans scattered like startled birds. Lambert followed, roaring like a bear. Gagnon cursed in French between shots. Within minutes, the gunfire died down. The Germans retreated deeper into the village. The civilians were safe. Leo leaned against a wall, breathing hard, sweat streaking his face. One eye glimmered with adrenaline, the other hidden under the patch survived only in memory. You're insane, Gagnon muttered. Probably, Leo replied, smiling. But it worked. 3. The SS strike back, but a single village meant nothing without the main road. The next day, the SS launched a surprise counterattack. Mortar shells rained down. The sky turned black with smoke. Leo sprinted through the chaos, pulling wounded men into cover. He saw a Canadian soldier trapped under a burning jeep. Without hesitation, Leo grabbed the metal frame, burning his hands, and dragged the men out. Seconds before the fuel tank exploded, the soldier coughed. Why'd you do that? Leo didn't look up. Because you're on my side. He stood up, ignoring the pain in his blistered palms. More German infantry advanced. Leo grabbed a PIAT, braced himself, and fired. The round, wildly unstable, slammed into a German half-track, flipping it into a ditch. Nice shot. Lambert yelled. It wasn't luck. Leo grinned. Okay, maybe a little. The Canadians held the line, but barely. 4. The Gestapo incident later that month, near the town of Kampen, Leo's patrol was ambushed. In the fog, he slipped on a patch of wet grass and tumbled into a ditch, right in front of a German squad. He fought like a man possessed, taking down 2 before 3 others pinned him. They dragged him to a farmhouse. Gestapo officers interrogated him, demanding intel. Leo spat blood and smiled. I only tell secrets to people I like. They beat him with rifle butts, kicked him, tied him to a chair, but Léo Major did not break. That night, while the Gestapo slept, Leo used the jagged edge of the broken chair leg to saw through the rope. He slipped free, crept downstairs, and slit the sentry's throat. He stole the officer's pistol, then he found the men who hit him the hardest. Leo stood over him. This is for my eye. The shot echoed through the dark. Leo limped 12 kilometers back to Canadian lines. When the guards saw him, bruised and bleeding, they stared in awe. I got bored, Leo grunted. So I came back. 5. The end of the war. But not the end of Leo. 1945. Germany surrendered. For most soldiers, it meant peace, rest, going home to families. For Leo, it meant training again. He volunteered for the Korean War. When his commander asked him why, Leo simply said, "There's still work to do." And in Korea, he became a legend again, performing feats that defied reason, leading 10 men to defeat nearly 70 Chinese soldiers, holding Hill 355 against impossible odds, saving entire Canadian companies. Léo Major was not just a soldier. He was an unstoppable force. A man who refused to die. A man who refused to quit. A man who believed courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the refusal to listen to it. He survived 2 wars, countless missions, and a lifetime of danger, yet at his core, Leo remained the same simple, smiling, unstoppable ghost of a man. Léo Major, Part 3, Hill 355, The Ghost Returns, ***, Korea, November 1951, somewhere near the Jamestown line the wind screamed across the frozen ridges, carrying with it the metallic taste of snow and the distant thunder of artillery. Hill 355, locals called it Little Gibraltar, loomed in the darkness like a monstrous shadow. Whoever held it controlled the surrounding valleys. Whoever lost it wouldn't live long enough to regret it. Corporal Léo Major stood at the base of the hill, steam rising from his breath, his patched eye covered with a new bandage. His gear was worn, his hands scarred, his coat heavy with frost. But his gaze, his one good eye, burned with the same fire he carried at Zwolle. Beside him, Sergeant Tommy O'Connor shivered violently. "Leo, you sure you want to do this? I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." But 10 men against, what, 70 Chinese? At least. Leo grinned. "Then I hope you brought a miracle in your pocket." I brought 2, Leo replied calmly. Just in case one gets lonely. O'Connor stared at him. It was the answer of a man who didn't know fear. Or maybe a man who had learned to live beside it. 1. The Chinese break through the night before. A massive wave of Chinese infantry smashed into Canadian defenses, overrunning trenches and forcing the 3rd Battalion to pull back. The Chinese now held Hill 355, using its height to rain fire down on the valley. Canadian HQ was in chaos, maps scattered. Radios screaming. Wounded carried in by the dozens. Major Caldwell slammed his fist onto the table. We need that hill back. Immediately. Sir, a lieutenant said, we don't have the numbers. The Chinese reinforced. I don't care if they reinforced with dragons. We need that hill. Silence, then a calm voice. I'll take a look, Leo said. Everyone turned. Caldwell frowned. Corporal Major, what exactly do you mean by look? I mean I'll go up there, Leo shrugged, and if I see something I don't like, I'll change it. O'Connor facepalmed. Oh God, not again. Caldwell stared long at Leo, then simply nodded, because deep down, he knew, if there was one man who could walk into hell and come back with a souvenir, it was Leo Major. 2. Into the death zone Leo chose 9 men. Volunteers, they crawled through the icy mud under moonlight, using shell craters as cover. Chinese machine guns crackled above them. Flares hissed into the sky, bathing the ridge in sickly yellow. O'Connor whispered, Leo, if they spot us, then don't let them spot us, Leo whispered back. A Chinese spotlight swung across the slope. Leo grabbed O'Connor and yanked him flat. The beam passed inches above their helmets. Then, from above, a shriek. Gongzwa. Machine gun team calling to reposition. Leo's eye narrowed. He signaled 2 men. They crept to the left flank. Moments later, clink. Boom, a grenade exploded inside the nest. The ridge fell silent for a heartbeat. Leo whispered, move. They climbed. 3. The assault at the top of the ridge. The enemy trenches twisted like the veins of a dying beast. Fires burned. Soldiers shouted. Chinese reinforcements rushed back and forth. Leo took a deep breath, lifted his Sten, and walked straight into the first trench. A Chinese soldier froze at the sight of a one-eyed man emerging from the smoke like an apparition. Leo didn't freeze. He fired once, then twice more. The trench erupted in panic. Haitian. Haitian. Black ghost. Leo moved like water, smooth, instinctive, relentless. He fired, reloaded, threw grenades down tunnels, kicked rifles away, dragged wounded Canadians behind him. The 10 men fought like 50. Leo fought like an army. A mortar shell exploded nearby, knocking O'Connor into the trench. You alive? Leo asked. Barely. That's enough. Soon the trench fell silent except for the crackling of fires. They had taken the first line. 9 men left. 4. The second wave. Before they could catch their breath, Chinese reinforcements charged. Bayonets glinted in the firelight. Dozens of soldiers, screaming battle cries, charging downhill. O'Connor whispered, Leo, that's too many. Leo knelt, breathing steadily. Then we shoot faster. He opened fire. The Canadians unleashed every bullet, every grenade, every ounce of strength. The ridge turned into a maelstrom of smoke, dirt, blood, and shattered ice. For a moment, it looked hopeless, but Leo didn't back down, not an inch. When his Sten jammed, he used a captured Type 50. When that emptied, he threw grenades. When he had no grenades, he used his knife. He moved with terrifying precision, like a man possessed, like a man who had only one mission left in his life: hold the hill. His men followed because they wouldn't dare do anything else. By dawn, the second wave was broken. Only 6 Canadians remained. 5. Reinforcements arrived when the sun finally rose. Its rays shone on a scene that didn't seem possible. Hill 355, lost to the Chinese only a day before, was now held by 6 exhausted, frostbitten, blood-soaked Canadians, and one one-eyed ghost, standing at the highest point like a king claiming his mountain. Canadian reinforcements finally reached them. Lieutenant Harris climbed the ridge, eyes wide. Who the hell did this? O'Connor pointed at Leo. Him. Mostly him. Leo just shrugged. It wasn't that bad. Harris stared at him. Corporal Major, you retook Hill 355 with 10 men. Actually, Leo corrected, We only needed 6. Harris shook his head in disbelief. Leo, you just saved an entire battalion. 6. The legend endures. When the story spread through the lines, no one believed it at first. Then they saw the hill, then they saw the bodies, then they saw the Canadians standing there, alive, and they understood. Léo Major wasn't just a hero. He wasn't just lucky. He wasn't just strong. He was something else. A force of nature. A man who refused to surrender to odds, pain, fear, or death. 2 wars. 2 nations liberated. 2 hills taken alone. 1 men. Léo Major walked off Hill 355 as calmly as he walked into Zwolle, not boasting, not celebrating, just quietly checking his weapon, cleaning mud from his boots, and preparing for the next mission, because in his mind, there was always work left to do. Léo Major, Part 4. The last ghost of the battlefield, ***, Canada, 1953. After the Korean War, the plane touched down on a quiet runway in Quebec, the engines growling to a halt. Snowflakes drifted across the tarmac, melting on the soldiers' coats as they stepped out. Corporal Léo Major descended the ramp last. He didn't like ceremonies. He didn't like applause. He didn't like speeches or medals. He preferred silence, snow, and a good pair of boots. The wind stung his face, but he welcomed the cold. After the brutal Korean winter on Hill 355, Canada felt almost gentle. Waiting for him was Captain Tremblay, older now, tired, but smiling. Leo, you came back in one piece. Mostly, Leo said with his crooked grin. You never change. Why would I start now? They embraced as brothers who had seen too much, lost too much, survived too much. 1. A quiet life that was never quiet. Leo returned to a simple existence. He worked jobs that kept his hands busy and his mind calm. Construction, carpentry, mechanic work. He married. He had children. He raised them with gentleness that surprised many who only knew the legend. He never boasted about Zwolle, never bragged about Hill 355. Never spoke of Gestapo cells or night raids or one-man assaults. To him, heroism was a job he had done. Nothing more, but stories have a way of spreading on their own. Veterans from 2 wars approached him at parades, Danish resistance fighters visited him, Dutch families sent letters for decades thanking him for the night their city was freed. Every once in a while, a random stranger would recognize the eye patch, shake his hand, and whisper, "You saved my father. You saved my city. You saved my grandfather." Leo always answered the same way, glad he made it. 2. Zwolle never forgot. In 1968, Leo returned to the Netherlands. He stood again in the square he had once liberated alone. Children giggled as they ran around him. Families greeted him with fresh flowers, and elderly townsfolk held his hands with trembling gratitude. 1 Dutch mayor declared, "This man did not just liberate Zwolle. He liberated every heart in it." Leo blushed like a shy boy. "It wasn't just me," Leo whispered, but the crowd laughed, because everyone knew, yes, it was him. Later, a little girl placed a flower in his hand, the same gesture another child had offered him back in 1944. Leo looked at the flower for a long time, his eye glimmered. 3. The weight of war. Leo carried scars no doctor could see. Some nights he woke shaking, some nights he walked outside just to feel the wind on his face, some nights he sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, lost in memories of gunfire and frozen trenches. His wife would gently touch his shoulder. "You're here, Leo. You're home." He'd smile softly. "Yeah, home." But inside him lived the ghosts of Zwolle's streets, the echo of grenades, the cold of Hill 355. He didn't run from them. He accepted them, they were part of him. 4. A final visit to his hill in the early 2000s, long after his hair turned white and his body slowed, Leo traveled one last time to Korea. Veterans, officers, and foreign dignitaries surrounded him, but he ignored the cameras. He could barely walk up the hill without help, but he insisted on climbing it. Hill 355. The mountain he had taken with 6 men, the place where he should have died, but didn't. At the top, he stood quietly, breathing heavy, leaning on a cane. A Korean soldier stepped beside him. "Sir, do you want me to read the battle inscription?" Leo shook his head. "I don't need words." He looked out across the landscape, once torn by war, now green, peaceful, alive. He whispered, "Worth it." 5. The last years Leo spent his final years surrounded by family. He laughed louder. He told more stories, mostly funny ones. He hugged his grandchildren often. He never talked about medals, never talked about killing, only about the peace he hoped the world would hold on to. When he walked through town, people still stopped him, not for what he had done, but for what he had become. A symbol, a myth, a ghost who chose to live. 6. The death of a legend. On October 12, 2008, Léo Major passed away quietly in a hospital bed at age 87. There was no explosion, no last battle, no dramatic final breath, just a peaceful smile, a hand held by family, a hero closing his eye for the final time. But across the world, in Zwolle, church bells rang, flags dropped to half-mast, hundreds of people gathered in the square he had freed. Children lit candles, elderly Dutch women cried. A banner hung from the city hall, Léo Major, our liberator, our hero. In Korea, soldiers saluted the Canadian flag, veterans whispered his name. A wreath was laid on Hill 355. And in Canada, his regiment stood silent at attention, mourning the men who had done the impossible more times than anyone could count. **EPILOGUE The ghost lives on ***. They say heroes die twice, once when their heart stops and once when their name is forgotten. Léo Major will never die the second death. Every street he freed, every family he saved, every soldier he protected, every hill he fought for, carries his memory like a flame, not because he was fearless, but because he acted even when fear was everywhere. A man with one eye, who saw clearer than most men with two. A soldier who fought for the living, not the glory. A ghost who walked into darkness, and always walked back out. Léo Major, the one-eyed ghost, twice a hero, always a legend.